in steamy South Florida, where things are heating up for the hometown Marlins. D-backs in for a 4-game series, but all of baseball looking here at Miami tonight, where Mike Redmond yesterday was fired as Marlins manager and replaced today by their GM, Dan Jennings. So some storm clouds above as the Diamondbacks arrive in Miami here on Fox Sports Arizona. Jennings, this is his managerial debut tonight. There he is on the right. He is their general manager in Miami. He's been a scout. He's been a front office person. He has never managed professionally at any level. And yet this morning he was introduced as the Marlins' new skipper.
You could imagine last night there was not a lot of sleep in my night, but much to do with writing lineups on the paper, trying to make sense of where's going to be the best spot to put certain guys, so hopefully jumpstart guys. As we've alluded to, there's a strong belief in the talent level of these players, and a manager's job is to put a player in the best position where they can succeed, have success. And so definitely we'll meet with the staff here in a little bit and get their input on things that they believe in, things that they know, that they've seen, and take their input and then come up with a lineup and hopefully a winner.
Well, welcome into Marlins Park. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly along the way. Bob, the whole baseball is asking, what are the Marlins doing now?
Well, I think a lot of people that have been following this Marlins club for a long time are asking, what in the world are they doing now? We don't even know if the new manager is going to last till the All-Star break. If they lose 10 in a row, he might get fired.
Well, there's a lot of discussion around the game that the Marlins here did not go through the usual process and were quick to get their GM in there as manager. He'll make his debut tonight. One thing we do know, he's got some pretty good players to work with.
Specifically that big guy out in right field, Giancarlo Stanton. This guy has been unbelievable. Hitting tape measure home runs. There's 11 home runs this year. The average distance, 424 feet. This guy's just a beast at the plate, and what you really like about him, he's improved his defense. He has 4 outfield assists. He's improved as a base runner. A lot of similarities between Stanton and Paul Goldschmidt.
And the Diamondbacks pitchers in this series will have to be very careful with Big Giancarlo. Tonight it's Ruby De La Rosa on the mound against former Diamondback and Dodger Dan Herron. First pitch is coming up when we come back here on Fox Sports Arizona. Jody Jackson talks about the pitchers meeting after the loss in Philadelphia yesterday. You're watching Diamondbacks baseball on Fox Sports Arizona.
Gigablast. How will you live the gig life? By Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Jack in the Box. Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich.
And welcome back to Marlins Park Monday evening here in the city of Miami. Jody Jackson with you. D-backs have lost 4 straight. They're looking to get back on track yesterday in the clubhouse right after the loss to the Phillies. A shutout. Chip Hale gathered the team, told them to stay positive, told them also not to press too much because bad things happen rather than good things in that situation. And then after that, Mike Harkey, the pitching coach, called a bit of a pitcher's meeting. They struggled, especially over the last week, not just the starters, but the bullpen in particular. So I asked Brad Ziegler what the message was during that meeting.
Some of the things that were said, we obviously want to keep it internal. The biggest idea is we just have to execute better and have a better mentality when we're on the mound. I think sometimes we go out on the mound and we're like kind of afraid of bad things happening instead of just attacking and being aggressive and being the one in control out there. And that's what, just try to get that little edge back that we belong out there and we dictate the pace, we dictate the flow of the game and not pitch scared, I guess.
Well, the pitchers try to regain that edge against a very talented Marlins team, and the hitters will do so as well. The lineup, it's a shakeup. Steve and Bob will have that for you. Ruby De La Rosa goes out on the mound today looking for his 5th win of the season. Hopefully he'll get it here in Miami.
And Jennings, the Marlins have lost 6 of their last 7, just swept by the Braves here this weekend. They came within 1 2-out single in the 9th inning of being no hit here yesterday by Atlanta's Shelby Miller. But GM Dan Jennings, who is now the manager, says in his heart this Marlins group he's put together as a playoff team. He admits his hiring as a manager is out of the box. He says there's really an element of surprise to everybody here, and surprise, Bob Brenly, definitely the operative word.
Well, I guess we shouldn't be surprised by anything that happens down here in South Florida. That's the owner, Jeffrey Loria, and he's done some unusual things over the years. This is not the first manager he's fired in midseason. He fired Joe Girardi the season after he was named National League Manager of the Year. He's paying 3 managers now.
Yeah, they just gave Mike Redmond an extension at the end of last year. They have been outscored 39-17 in their last 7 games, just trying to get some stability here. They've been up and down all year long, down cycle right now, and They think their GM, Dan Jennings, who has never managed professionally at any level, is the guy to get them that stability. Their man on the mound tonight against the Diamondbacks, your Arizona Ford starting pitcher, 34-year-old right-hander. It's the former D-back Dan Herron, his first season in Miami after his trade from the Dodgers last December. Chris Owings with great numbers against Herron.
He's changed a little bit as a pitcher since he's been in Arizona, and I faced him quite a few times last year when he was with the Dodgers. And you know, he's just trying to feed off your aggressiveness, and you know, he's trying to get you out that way. And you just got to be patient off him and just let the ball travel a little bit and not try to do too much off of him.
Well, he's had a very good year, Dan Herron. 4-2 in 7 starts for the Marlins. The ERA 3.70. He has allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 5 of his 7 starts this year.
Yeah, coming off his rockiest outing of the season against another former team for Dan Herron. The Dodgers beat him up 4 1/3, gave up 11 hits and 6 runs in that game. But otherwise, he's been pretty solid this year for the Marlins.
Yeah, this is a guy that just doesn't walk anybody. Never has in his career. In his 7 starts this season, he has issued only 8 walks and none in his last 3 starts. First of 4, the Diamondbacks and the Miami Marlins. The roof and panels are closed here at Marlins Park on a steamy day in South Florida. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly, Jody Jackson with you. Ender Inciarte in the leadoff spot, and we are underway. Alfonso Marquez is our plate umpire. Just after 7 o'clock local time in Miami. Ender at 3:09. A ball and a strike. Former Diamondback Martin Prado at third base this evening for the Marlins. Couple of steps in on the grass. There's Martin Prado. Got to catch up with all his former teammates during batting practice this afternoon. And sure enough, Ender drops down a bunt, and Prado lets it roll foul. Well, Bob, Chip Hale before the ball game, as Jody Jackson mentioned, said he figured it was time for another lineup shakeup, and here's what it looks like tonight.
Yeah, hit the Ouija board. This is what Chip came up with. Ender Inciarte at the top in left field. A.J. Pollock in center field. Paul Goldschmidt at his customary 3 spot playing first base. Yasmani Tomas moves up to the cleanup spot. Mark Trumbo slides back down into the 5-hole playing right field. Aaron Hill at second base. Chris Owings, as we mentioned, great numbers against Dan Herron at short. Tuffy Gosewish doing the catching, and Ruby De La Rosa on the mound.
A 1-2 to Inciarte misses, and it's even 2 balls and 2 strikes. Yeah, hottest hitters in the Diamondbacks lineup right now might be Hill and Owings in the 6 and 7 spots. Ender rolls one to shortstop. There's a Danny Echeverria, and that's the first out here in the ball game. Let's take a look at the Marlins defensively around Dan Herron.
Christian Yelich out in left field. Ichiro Suzuki, a late insertion into the lineup in center field. Giancarlo Stanton over in right. You mentioned Martin Prado at third base. Adeiny Echeverria at shortstop. Former Dodger D. Gordon at second base. Justin Bohr, the big slugger, down at first. Jacob Realmuto doing the catching, and Dan Herron, the righty, on the mound.
A.J. Pollock back in the 2-hole tonight, and he looks at strike 1. Keep in mind, Ichiro is out there in center field, a late lineup change for Dan Jennings, and it is an enormous outfield in this ballpark. It is massive. I know sometimes Giancarlo makes it look small, but this is a big yard. AJ fouls one off down the left field line.
And we showed you the arsenal for Dan Herron a little bit earlier, and you may have noticed a lot of fastballs, whether it's the 4-seamer up in the zone, the 2-seamer when he's going for a ground ball, the cutter when he's looking for weak contact off the end of the bat. He'll throw a lot of fastballs. He'll also mix in a big, slow, over-the-top curve and that split-fingered fastball for a swing and a miss pitch.
0-2 to Pollock, misses. AJ in there at 292 and 3 home runs.
For Dan Herron, the velocity down considerably this year. He never was a real hard thrower, but the fastball used to sit in the low 90s. A little bit lower for the cutter and the sinker, but this year everything under 90 miles per hour, even the 4-seam fastball.
Roll to shortstop, and again it's Adeiny Echeverria, who has become this year one of the best in the business. The offense has really picked up to match the great glove work And Herron has retired the first two he's faced. Here comes Goldie. Paul Goldschmidt batting .333. That is 6th in the National League. Goldie 3rd in RPIs and OPS. Ball 1. Goldie 2 for 11 in the 3-game series at Philadelphia, and a pair of big hits in that series. Clutch 2-run double late in Friday's game, and then a moonshot homer on Saturday. His 10th of the year.
Yeah, if he hits that same home run in this ballpark that he hit in Philadelphia, it might get up in the rafters. That was one of the highest home runs I've ever seen anybody hit. Too high.
What do you mean too high? 2 balls and a strike. This was Goldie Saturday at Citizens Bank Park.
If you didn't know any better, you see that picture right there, you assume he popped it up into left field, but he popped it up into the bleachers.
And Dan Herron is vulnerable to the long ball. He's given up 8 home runs this year. That puts him just outside the top 10 in the league in terms of home runs allowed. And that's kind of been a thing with him over the course of his career. He's given up at least 27 home runs a season in each of the last 3 years. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Goldie. Right by Andy Green down there at third. Tomas, the cleanup man, on deck. He would be next. His bat really at the Phillies. Herron strikes out Goldschmidt, works a 1-2-3 first. We are underway in South Florida. We'll see Giancarlo Stanton when we come back. Six road wins all year, and looking to get that turned around tonight. First of 4 here at Marlins Park as this tour of the National League East continues. 3 straight series against the Nationals, the Phillies, and now the Marlins. For the Diamondbacks, your Arizona Ford starting pitcher, it's Ruby De La Rosa. The 26-year-old right-hander is pitching coach is Mike Harkey.
He's been making pitches when he's needed to. He's limiting the damage, and I think that was one of the emphasis that we had on getting him better with when he came here, was make sure he limited the damage, you know, and get outs when he needs to.
Well, Ruby has won 4 of his 7 starts with the Diamondbacks so far and put up 42 strikeouts in 44 innings of work.
Won his last 2 starts against the Padres, 7 innings, a 3-hit shutout ball, and then he was the beneficiary of the offensive explosion against Steven Strasburg in the Nationals. Went 7 innings, gave up 8 hits and 4 runs, and was the winner in that game.
Corner infielders are in for D. Gordon, leading the major leagues in hitting with that .420 batting average, which is about 60 points better than the second place man, Adrian Gonzalez.
And the infield needs to play in against D. Gordon. Lightning quick out of that left-handed batter's box. He's got 3 bunt hits this season, 15 infield hits. Not only the corner guys were drawn in, but also the guys in the middle came in a couple of steps.
Ruby ahead 0-2. Yeah, he has worked very closely with Marlins third base coach and former D-back coach Brett Butler on improving his bunting. Here's Brett down in the third base coach's box, and Gordon now has just added to his arsenal of weapons there. He's a tough guy to retire when he can bunt with that speed. And if you're waiting for D. Gordon's hitting to come back down to earth, it's not tailing off. It actually keeps getting better. He set a Marlins record by hitting .409 in April. He's hitting .439 here in May. And D. Gordon picked up his 52nd hit of the year on May 7th. One of his many multi-hit games this season. 52 hits, the most for a player through his first 28 games in a season since Rod Carew in 1983. He's having that kind of year. And he's given them exactly what they thought they were getting when they picked him up from LA over the winter. He has filled the role for the Marlins that they haven't had, speed in the leadoff spot. And a good start for De La Rosa. He strikes out the big league's leading hitter, 1 away. This is the lineup for Dan Jennings, Miami Marlins.
Rolls right off your tongue, doesn't it? We've seen D. Gordon. He went down on strikes. Martin Prado, the former D-back, at third base. Giancarlo Stanton in right. Justin Bohr at first base. JT Realmuto doing the catching. Christian Yelich out in left. Adeiny Echeverria at shortstop. Ichiro Suzuki out in center field, and Dan Haren the pitcher.
Here is the new skipper, Dan Jennings, who is also the GM here. Strike one to Martin Prado, the former Diamondback, hitting .270 with a pair of homers, his first season here with the Marlins. And he has hit in a spot that Diamondbacks fans are familiar with Prado, the 2-hole. Had a nice combination at the top of this lineup with D. Gordon leading off and Prado behind him.
Some things never change. Martin Prado and all that pine tar on the bat, and the big mark it leaves on his right shoulder as he waits for the pitch from Ruby De La Rosa.
A trademark. There it is. Lifts it in the air to right field. Mark Trumbo coming in. 2 down. Here comes the big man. Giancarlo Stanton hitting .250 on the year. His 11 home runs, third in the National League behind Bryce Harper and Todd Frazier. He's one ahead of Goldie. So even the 480-foot homers still count as just one. He is second in the majors in RBIs. Good start for Ruby. He's thrown strike one to every Marlins hitter in this inning.
Just over the last 6 ball games for Giancarlo Stanton, he's hit about a quarter mile worth of home runs. I mean, all tape measure blasts.
Well, Stanton does strike out, and strike out a lot. He is second in the National League in strikeouts, behind only the Cubs' Jorge Soler. And De La Rosa's ahead, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Only 4 players in baseball have struck out more often than Stanton this year. But he's hot. He's homered 4 times in his last 5 games. Hit 2 here in their loss to Atlanta on Friday. And one more strikeout to the total as De La Rosa K's 2 in the inning. We'll go to the second, no score at Marlins Park. And the cleanup man tonight for the first time in the D-backs order, Yasmani Tomas steps in to lead off the second for Arizona. Tomas at 309 on the year, and coming off a pair of 2-hit games against the Phillies over the weekend, including his first career home run.
And for the first time this year, we really saw Yasmani Tomas in batting practice today pull the ball with authority. We know about that inside-out swing. A lot of his base hits coming to the opposite field. A lot of his power is to the opposite field. But we saw him turning some around in batting practice today. And Dan Herron, as we mentioned, not overpowering with the fastball. See if Tomas can get one airborne toward left field tonight.
Well, his bat does seem a bit streaky here in May. His hits have tended to come in bunches. Back-to-back 3-hit games earlier this month, and then 2 hits each on Saturday and Sunday at Citizens Bank. This was the home run off Ken Giles.
Pitch up and out over the plate. That's his natural power. That's his natural swing to drive the ball that way. He's got to work to pull the ball, but we've seen glimpses of it in some of the games and a lot of it in batting practice today.
Reaches down and knocks it into short right field for a base hit. Tomas aboard, first hit of the ball game for either side.
Not many 4-hitters in baseball will shorten up their swing and put a ball in play the way Tomas did right here. Took a cutter down low and away. Just guided it out there over the head of Dee Gordon in front of Giancarlo Stanton for the first hit of the game.
Well, he's been batting second in the order for a while now, but Mark Trumbo dropped down to 5th, 282 and 6 homers. He's driven in 19 runs. Chip Hale said before the ball game today he wanted to get Tomas in this lineup shakeup in between Gold Rumbo. So Trumbo goes from 2nd to 5th. A.J. Pollock moves up back of the 2-hole. And Trumbo's ahead, 2 balls and no strikes. Mark had 2 hits in 8 at-bats in the Phillies series. Both singles. He did not have an RBI over the weekend. Struck out 4 times as the Diamondbacks struggled to score runs in that series. Spits on that one. It's 3-0.
So if you, well, I'll get to that in a minute. When the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. The day after every Diamondbacks win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code DBACKS50. PapaJohns.com.
There's the strike. 3-1. You were saying.
I'm just trying to figure out how you combine Goldie and Yasmani
next level.
and Trumbo. Gold Yumbo. I don't know.
Gold Yumbo. The internet just blew up. 3-1. It's full. Aaron Hill on deck. Chris Owings behind him. Aaron's bat really heating up lately.
And real good career numbers against Dan Herron.
Called strike 3. Alfonso Marquez rings up Trumbo. Second strikeout for Herron.
Dan Herron, when he's right, he's a little bit of a surgeon. He'll work that sinker and cutter on both sides of the plate. He'll elevate that four-seam fastball. If he thinks you're very anxious and ready to swing the bat, he'll bounce a breaking ball or the splitter. He's not the kind of pitcher at this stage of his career that's just going to throw the ball for the middle of the plate and try to blow it by you.
First pitch fouled back by Aaron Hill. Aaron now over 290 for the year. The OPS creeping up near 800. Had a pair of hits in yesterday's game at Citizens Bank Park. Missed much of that series with a stomach bug.
And I mentioned his good numbers against Dan Herron in his career. 10 for 31 with a homer, 2 triples, 2 doubles.
Ball and 2 strikes. How about the shoes, BB, on Ichiro out there? The glove and the shoes, they match.
Always very stylish.
And as usual, a horde of Japanese media here following his every move. Absolute rock star in his native Japan.
I love to watch Ichiro. I mean, he does this between pitches. You know, a lot of times you'll see an outfielder looking at his shadow in the grass, working on his batting swing. Ichiro is getting ready for the ball to be hit to him every pitch.
2-2 is in the seats.
You'll see him out there stretching, as we just showed you in that shot. Occasionally he'll put his glove in his right hand and windmill that right arm to make sure it's good and loose and ready to make a throw.
41 years old, turns 42 in October, and closing in on 3,000 hits in the big leagues. He's already over 4,000 for his career, both here in Japan. Aaron misses there, and it's a full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Chris Owings on deck. Rolled up the middle. Gordon, Echeverria, 4, and they roll the double play. So Herron gets a strikeout and a double play to erase that leadoff single. As the Marlins turn 2, still no score in Miami.
After a long battle with D. Gordon, finally got him to chase one out of the zone. Same thing for Giancarlo Stanton. You know, Larry Rothschild, who was a pitching coach in Chicago for a long time, and now Joe Girardi's pitching coach for the Yankees, he used to use the term the illusion of a strike. You want to throw pitches that give the hitter the illusion of a strike. It looks like it's going to be a good pitch, but by the time you swing at it, it's out of the strike zone. Those two changeups from Ruby De La Rosa, a perfect example.
Big Justin Bour, first pitch swinging, a one hopper right to Aaron Hill at second base, and quickly one down here in the bottom of the second. Here's a guy they really like a lot in the Marlins organization, the new catcher, JT Realmuto. This is a guy who's been handed the catching duties, having just turned 24 years old, batting .226 so far, but he was always a shortstop growing up playing baseball. Very athletic back there, and they're very excited. They decided to eat the money they owe Jared Saltalamacchia. That was $14 million, let him go. He's now with the Diamondbacks, catching in Reno for Phil Nevin and the Aces, but this is the guy who they handed the job to. Bounced over the mound, Aaron Hill. Two quick ground ball outs for Ruby. 2 outs on 3 pitches. Brings up the slumping Christian Yelich. Another young guy that they're very excited about here, just 23, but he's hitting under 180 with 1 home run this year. He's had a very slow start because of a back injury. Was on the DL for a while and just came back. Yelich went down April 19th, missed 16 games with what turned out to be a herniated disc. Came back May the 8th. Drives it out to left. Inciarte won't be able to run it down. Yelich will stop at second. His second double this year. And we'll see how they score that. That's going to be a double for Yelich.
Long run back toward the wall. It looked like it just hit off Ender Inciarte's glove, even though could possibly be hung with an error right there. When you make that left fielder run that far and reach that high in the air to make the play, it's going to go as a base hit every time.
So Yelich at second, 2 down, and the shortstop, a guy that's turned into a real good hitter here this year, Danny Echeverria. Getting better and better every year, now at the age of 26, having a breakthrough season offensively. Reaches out and lines it right back to the mound. So it turns out to be, despite the double, a 6-pitch inning for Ruby De La Rosa. No score in Miami.
Particularly hot on this trip, 6 for 12 with a double, 2 runs scored. I asked Chris about how he's feeling at the plate right now. He said, I've actually had a lot of fun watching Aaron Hill get hot, what he did in Colorado and then bringing it back home. He's watched his stroke, he said, staying short and quick to the ball. That's what Aaron's been doing, and he's been trying to follow suit. He feels great at the plate right now, guys.
And he looks great, Jody, that's for sure. Looks like a different guy up there than the one we saw in April, who was overly aggressive up there, seemingly swinging at everything. But the at-bats this month for CO have been terrific. And he leads off the third with strike 1 against Dan Herron. Owings at 270 and 2 homers. And on a nice run at the plate here lately. He's hit in 6 straight games and 9 of his last 10. Something down in the right field corner.
He's taking laps.
Oh, the door is open in the bullpen.
Okay, that explains it.
And he's giving himself a timeout.
In the penalty box.
That's right. All right, CO is back in there with an 0-1 count. Fly ball near the right field line. Giancarlo Stanton. 1 away. Tuffy goes a wish.
I was just thinking, last year, partner, we went to L.A. and Dan Herron was a scheduled starter for the Dodgers, and we got to the ballpark fully expecting to see Chris Owings in the lineup. I think at the time he was like 9 for 11 lifetime against Dan Herron, and he was not in the starting lineup.
Yeah, numbers for CO against Herron career are just through the roof.
Crazy good, and we were puzzled, and I felt pretty good about it when Vin Scully came over from next door and he couldn't figure it out either.
It was an interesting moment. Hey guys, question. It was a fun conversation. 2-0. Tuffy 229, 12 RBIs. Popped up. First base side. Bohr in foul ground. 2 up, 2 down in the third. Well, the Diamondbacks are certainly familiar with Dan Herron. They saw a lot of Herron last season when Herron was in L.A. Ruby De La Rosa. Ball 1 to Ruby. One and one.
And that's about top end for Dan Herron right there. 86 to 88 is his best fastball at this stage of his career. But as I mentioned before, he learned how to move it both directions.
And he gets his 3rd strikeout. Bottom 3rd coming up. No score at Marlins Park. Thursday, May 24th, you can pick up the Diamondbacks Fedora Cap, courtesy of Gila River Casinos. On Saturday, June the 6th, Tony La Russa Bobblehead Day, courtesy of Chevrolet. Then Saturday, June 20th, fans get the D-backs backpack. You don't want to miss any giveaway game this year. Get your tickets now at dbacks.com. Big series against the Cubs coming up this weekend. Great giveaway items there, including our superhero T-shirt, which, after what we did in Philadelphia yesterday, it exploded on the internet today. The D-backs superhero shirt for our new friend in Philadelphia, BB, that we made yesterday after she was pushed aside by the Philly guy who wanted the souvenir baseball. That shirt has become a must-have item. That was Joyce, our new friend in Philly, who might still be wearing that shirt.
I believe Joyce is the president of the Philadelphia chapter of the Arizona Diamondbacks fan club.
Recently founded. Ichiro now 41 years old, 280 with a homer, and De La Rosa's ahead 0-2. You wondered where the at-bats would come from when they signed Ichiro Suzuki, with the Marlins already considered to have maybe the best outfield in all of baseball here. But he really came in handy when Yelich went down with a back injury and was out for a while. And so Ichiro has started already this year in all 3 outfield spots for the Marlins, including 19 starts in left field, most of those when Yelich was hurt. He's here on a 1-year, $2 million contract. And he is as tough an out as ever. I went down there just to watch him take batting practice. And the most impressive BP guy I've ever seen is Hunter Pence, because you see the strength and the force with which he hits the ball. Ichiro swings in batting practice as hard as Hunter Pence. Now that stunned me. And he makes those grunting tennis player noises that Hunter Pence makes when he swings at the ball. Every time. And it looks so effortless and fluid from up here. But when you get down there, man, he really swings hard.
And swings a lot.
Apparently. Slaps it the other way. Here comes Ender. Can't quite get it. Well, he's had one hit over his head in this enormous outfield, and now one hit just in front of him. This is a giant ballpark.
Defensively, the outfielders are going to have to position themselves depending on the count and the hitter at the plate. Favorable hitters count, you might play a few steps deeper. Defensive hitters count, you might play a couple of steps shallower, because, as you said, there is a ton of ground to cover, especially from left around to center field.
And now they will all shift over a bit toward right field with Dan Hara, the pitcher, up there. Leadoff single for Ichiro. Tomas will come in at third. Closing in on 500 career stolen bases, Ichiro. He's only 10 shy.
Now, there was a time you wouldn't even waste a bunt in this situation. You just let Ichiro steal the bag. A number of 30 and 40 stolen base seasons when he was much younger, but like a lot of us, he's not quite as fast as he used to be.
Back to the mound. Rubio, another lollipop throw. That's become a thing with him on these bunt attempts. That high arcing pop-up he throws over to first base, it just makes you a little nervous. As Aaron moves Ichiro along, that's the first out.
I know it makes the infielders nervous, the guys that are covering first base, as that lollipop comes down through the lights. That time, Aaron Hill able to stay with it and get the out.
Yeah, sooner or later, you're right, somebody's going to lose one of those in a light. D. Gordon struck out his first at bat. Major League's leading hitter now at 417.
But talk about taking away the bunt. Yasmani Tomas at third, Paul Goldschmidt at first. They're right in his grill.
Right to Goldie. Ichiro moves up another base, now at third with 2 outs.
Unfortunately, wasn't hit very hard down Goldie's direction. You can imagine playing that close to home plate. You don't have a lot of time to react right or left. That time Goldie about a half a step to his left, able to make the play and get the out at first.
Brings up the former D-back Martin Prado, flying out his first time. Prado's had a quiet last week or so at the plate, hitting under 160 over his last 9 games. Prado has not hit all that well in his new home park this season. And for a doubles type hitter like he is, you'd think this would be a good fit here, this ballpark, with all that room in the outfield. Gaps and down the lines, but he's batting .325 on the road, only .200 here at Marlins Park. By the end of a ball game, he must have more pine tar on the back of that shirt than he does on the bat.
Equipment manager's dream.
Both sides. Ichiro is at third, 2 outs, 2 balls and a strike to Prado. Hard to third. Tomas is there. Gets up and throws him out. Yasmani Tomas ends the third and keeps it scoreless in Miami.
Valley Honda dealers, keys to the game. Keep them in the tank. Keep the fish in the tank, especially that big thing out there in left center field. It's got a fish that flies around if a Marlin hits a home run. And sorry, I'm sure you're a nice guy, Dan, but we want to keep you winless at least for 4 more days.
Ender Inciarte leads off the Diamondbacks 4th and fouls off a bunt attempt. Yeah, the Marlins, talk about a roller coaster ride. They had high expectations. There's your artwork out there, which I believe is entitled Nude Fish Descending Staircase Number 2.
Really?
It looks just like that painting. Inciarte knocks it into center for a leadoff single. I just made that up. That's not officially the name, but it should be.
It should be.
Yeah. Brings up A.J. Pollock. But the reason for all the tumult, can I say that, in Miami, they had high expectations. They made a whole bunch of moves in the offseason. And they started 3-11. Here's Jeffrey Loria, the owner. 3-11, and everyone was calling for Mike Redmond. to be fired. But at that point, they then went on a really nice run, and eventually from 3-11 got all the way back to 500 at 12-12, which is no small feat. But since that point, which was back on May the 2nd, Miami has gone only 4-10. Now they're back 6 games below 500, and the GM is the manager. There's a strike. AJ grounded out his first time. This is a dumb question, but why stop now? How hard a job is it?
Managing?
Yeah. I'll give you a moment. High fly ball to left. Yelich. One away.
If your players aren't playing well, it's the hardest job in the world, because what can you do? I mean, you try to shuffle the deck, you move guys up in the order, down in the order, you hold a guy back from a start for an extra day of rest. You bring a guy back on short rest. You try to do everything you possibly can, but if the players don't perform, it doesn't matter. And there is no off time. Your phone might ring at any time of the day or night with fires to be put out, issues to be dealt with, and that goes for the off season as well.
I remember you telling me some stories about a round of golf in the off season. All of a sudden the phone rings and there goes the round of golf.
Yeah.
You never know. Goldie struck out his first time up.
Now, that being said, when your players are playing well and you're winning ball games, it's the greatest job in the world.
Because you had one team that was loaded with talent, and you had another team that was much less so.
Yes.
So you've ridden both those rides at the amusement park.
I like the first one a lot better than the second one.
Most people did. Only one. Are there people in this industry, because that's what it is, it's an industry full of quote-unquote baseball people, a lot of them today snickered and laughed and said, what are they doing? How much of that will he have to fight, and how big an obstacle might that be? Up the middle, look at that, D. Gordon, and they cannot get it out. A nice play by the Marlins second baseman, but Inciarte beat the throw to Echeverria covering the bag. D's like, do we have a replay challenge here? D's kind of out there like, I don't know, 50-50. Get on the phone.
I'm not so sure D. Gordon's the right guy to determine whether they got the guy at second base. He just kind of flipped that backwards over his shoulder.
Bruce Dreckman, the second base umpire.
Tough to tell from that angle.
Looks like Dan Jennings is going to back off here, and there will be no review. Close play, though.
Pretty nice stop by D. Gordon. That ball looked like it was ticketed for center field. The blind shovel back over his shoulder. Very close, but I think Inciarte did beat the play.
So the Diamondbacks have 2 on with 1 out for Yasmani Tomas, who had a base hit his first time up, batting cleanup tonight. And Herron right at 50 pitches, 33 for strikes. Left center field, that's got a chance to get down, and it does. It'll roll all the way to the wall. Inciarte scores. Goldie right behind. It's a 2-run double for Yasmani Tomas. 2 for 2, and it's 2-0 Diamondbacks. You get one down in the gaps in this ballpark, and you can run for a week.
Pulls one hard into that gap in left center. Hanging breaking ball that just stayed up over the plate, and he perfectly splits that gap in left center field. Inciarte can jog home. Goldie right behind him, motoring from first base. He'll score without a play.
Yasmani Tomas, the hits come in bunches. Trumbo chases the first pitch and pops it up.
7 for his last 12 with a double, a homer, and 5 singles is Yasmani Tomas. Red hot.
2 hits each Saturday and Sunday at the bank. 2 for 2 so far here. And an 0-1 count on Trumbo. Still just 1 out. Tomas at second. Sky near the second base bag. Gordon's calling for it. 2 down.
Hey fans, anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Well, there's another run out there for Aaron Hill with 2 outs. He hit into a double play his first time up. And Aaron has really found his offensive game over the last few weeks. Big swing and a miss. Last 14 games, Aaron Hill hitting nearly .440 with 10 RBIs. Tomas at second, 2 down, 2 runs in. There's a strike. It's 0-2. Aaron Hill has only played 5 games in this ballpark. That's the case for most of the Diamondbacks. But he has hit pretty well here, .316, including a pair of home runs. Not able to check his swing, and Herron gets his 4th strikeout. But Yasmani Tomas gets his 3rd double. A 2-run double into the gap in left center field. We go to the home half of the 4th, and the D-backs lead it 2-0. Game-changing players. How about this head-to-head matchup here for 4 games? Goldie and Giancarlo.
You notice on that face mask for Giancarlo Stanton, the letter G for Giancarlo. You know, there's a lot of questions as to whether Stanton would come back and be the same hitter he was before he got beamed last September. I think all those questions have been answered.
And he has put on a show here lately. Struck out his first time up. And Stanton leads off the 4th against Ruby De La Rosa, who has looked real good so far. Way up in the air, third base side. Owings calls off Tomas. Speaking of way up there, how about Stanton? Homered twice here Friday, including one, 474, that hit the center field camera well. But then Saturday, 480 to one fan out there who caught it with his bare hand and afterwards said, man, that really hurts. You think? That guy out there was attending his first Marlins game of the year. Stanton hit one 480 feet right to him. That's the camera well where the first one went. And then you go up, I don't know, another 30, 40 feet, and that's where the other one went. And when you sit here and see how big this ballpark really is, it is an eye-opener to think he hit it there.
You wonder, what is the limit? What is the human limit? How far can you hit a baseball? I don't know if we've reached that yet.
Justin Bour rounded out his first time. Well, he's from the LA area, Sherman Oaks, Giancarlo Stanton. And he hit one last Tuesday at Dodger Stadium out of the ballpark. Our former D-back Mike Bolsinger. And Stanton, you know, he admitted when he was young, that's actually what he wanted to do, hit one out of Dodger Stadium, and on May 12th he did.
Well, check that off your bucket list.
Willie Stargell, Mark McGwire, and Mike Piazza, the only other players ever to hit one out of that ballpark. 3-2 on board. Big cut at that one, and De La Rosa has his third strikeout. 450-foot homer since 2010. Giancarlo's well out in front. Mark Trumbo, third on the list. JT Realmuto, the catcher. You know, Andre Dawson, who's a coach here on the staff in Miami, has been for a while. Hall of Famer, hit 438 career home runs himself, and finished his career with the Marlins here. He called Stanton's power unimaginable. And for Andre Dawson, he can imagine quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, the Hawk was one of the best high fastball hitters this game has ever seen.
But he says, yeah, Stanton's a big, strong guy. That's a given. But he was talking about the swing and the technique involved, and that's what really impressed him. This is hit deep to center, but A.J. Pollock has lots of room out there. And De La Rosa works a 1-2-3 inning. We go to the fifth. Diamondbacks lead the Marlins 2-0.
Hit more specifically, brought to you by Geico. Randy Johnson becomes the oldest pitcher to throw a perfect game, a 2-zip win over the Atlanta Braves. Robbie Hammock tried to lift him up out there in the middle of the infield, thought better of it, and just had a big old man hug out there in the middle of the field. What a day for Randy and the organization.
That game was really well managed.
Some of my best work.
Chris Owings leads off the fifth.
Pat him on the back when he goes out to the mound and shake his hand when he comes off the field.
Of course, Robbie Hammock now managing at Double-A Mobile. CO flat out his first time. Diamondbacks with 4 hits so far against Dan Herron, 3 coming in the last inning. Singles by Inciarte and Goldie, then a 2-run double by Tomas. Little excuse me check swing roller. Echeverria is going to have to hurry, and he throws him out. That guy is a really, really good defensive shortstop. You'll see him over the next 3 or 4 days, and he's going to impress you.
Yeah, has the ability to multitask. Charging the ball hard, makes a nice play. Quick exchange into the throwing hand. A strong throw across the diamond just in time to get CO at first.
Tuffy goes a wish now.
Interesting little story about Echeverria. Perry Hill, who's their infield instructor and first base coach at the old ballpark, it had so many different names, I'm not even sure what to refer to it as.
The football stadium.
Yeah, the football stadium. When Echeverria was a young player, Perry Hill used to take golf tees and put him in the grass right there at the edge of the dirt to let him know where to play. Move over 1 tee, move over 2 tees, to your right, to your left. But Echeverria has advanced to the point now where he doesn't need the golf tees out there on the infield anymore. Perry Hill can just, signal, move over a little bit, this way, that way. I don't think it matters where he starts. It's where he gets to. It's amazing.
Up, he lifts it in the air to center field. Ichiro won't be able to get it. It rolls to the deepest part of the ballpark, that corner in center field. Not a lot of center fields have a corner, but they have one here at Marlins Park, and Tuffy has his 5th double.
That's one of the hardest hit balls we've seen off the bat, and Tuffy goes to which he smoked that ball to straightaway center. It's 418 straight away out there, a little bit deeper in that corner you're talking about in center field. He really put a charge on this one. There's that corner notch, whatever you want to call it.
So Tuffy at second with 1 out for Ruby De La Rosa, the pitcher, who gets a bunt down and a good one. Real Muto with 1 play throws him out, and Tuffy moves up to third. 2-4 on the sacrifice. Here comes Ender Inciarte.
Nice bunt by Ruby De La Rosa, and Real Muto was a little casual coming out from behind the plate to field that bunt. Ruby was busting it down the first baseline. He was smelling infield hit.
So it's Gozawish, the runner at third, 2 outs. Inciarte 1 for 2. He singled and scored his last time up. Nice extra run standing down there 90 feet away with 2 outs. Ball 1. Ender 0 for 5 yesterday in the series finale at Philadelphia. Did have 4 hits in the series.
The backdoor cutter starts off the plate, just enough movement to get it back to the edge of that outside corner.
Hard to second, but right to Gordon, who makes a nice play and throws him out. So Herron strands the 1-out double, and he keeps it a 2-0 game here in Miami.
brought to you in part by your Valley Honda dealers, where you'll get more standard features for less money. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Mix One, great taste, no face, available at local retailers.
We're in Miami. So far, so good for D-backs right-hander Ruby De La Rosa. He's got a 2-0 lead. He's given up only 2 hits so far. He has struck out 3 and retired the last 6 Marlins he's faced. And here in the bottom of the 5th, they'll work to Christian Yelich, Danny Echeverria, and Ichiro Suzuki, 6, 7, and 8 for the Miami Marlins.
And only 45 pitches in the ball game for Ruby De La Rosa. He has been incredibly efficient tonight. 4 one-pitch outs in the ball game. A lot of early swinging from the Marlins hitters, and Ruby's taking advantage.
Yelich doubled his first time up. Yeah, Ruby has been the king of run support so far this year. In his last 2 starts, the Diamondbacks have won the ball game 11-0 and 14-6. So 1-1. His run support, though, has been very much hit or miss. In his 4 victories this year, the Diamondbacks have scored 40 runs. In his 3 losses, they've scored a total of 2 runs. How about that? And he is second only to the Reds' Jason Marquis among National League starters in terms of run support. Yelich giving him a battle up there. It's 1-2.
Ruby assuming the role of Chase Anderson early in the season last year, when every time Chase went to the mound, the D-backs scored in double digits, it seemed like.
He's got a 2-0 lead here in the 5th. And he's been very efficient. Called strike 3. Alfonso Marquez rings up Yelich, 4th strikeout for Ruby De La Rosa.
A little comeback action on that tailing fastball at 96. Just absolutely locked up Christian Yelich. Couldn't pull the trigger.
Danny Echeverria lined right back to the mound his first time up. I mentioned this earlier. Now at 310, moving his way up into the upper echelon of offensive shortstops in the league. And a nice play there by Ruby to field his position as Echeverria tries to bunt for a base hit, but he throws him out.
It's the 5th one-pitch out in this ball game for Ruby De La Rosa, and a really nice defensive play. Got to the ball, made the barehanded pickup, and didn't rush his throw. Made sure his legs were underneath him, had his left shoulder pointed at the target at first base, and fired a strike to Goldie for the out.
2 down now for Ichiro, who singled his first time up. Looks at strike 1. Ichiro is 15th season in the major leagues in the U.S. He's approaching 2,900 career hits. A lifetime batting average of just under 320 in the big leagues. Lifts it in the air along the left field line. Ender Inciarte, long run. And he won't get there. It drops just on the right-hand side of that foul line for a 2-out single. And Ichiro, 2 for 2, add 1 more hit to the list. So we update our list here. Before he came to the U.S., Ichiro played 9 seasons with the Oryx Blue Wave in Japan's Pacific League, where he was a career .353 hitter, nearly 1,300 hits. So between the 2 leagues, he's totaled more than 4,100 career hits. And as we mentioned earlier, he's also only 10 stolen bases shy of 500 for his U.S. career. Swing and a miss. Dan Herron up there with 2 outs. He's 41. He'll turn 42 in October. And it's unlikely that he's getting to 3,000 this year, but next year, if he plays again, a definite possibility. And Ichiro, you know, he says unless you can get 3 hits in 1 at bat, then maybe this year I'll get it. But he'll says he'll start thinking about that 3,000 number later. In the meantime, he just wants to play baseball. And with the way he works out in the offseason, he can play for a long time. Herron waves at 3 pitches. 5 strikeouts now for Ruby De La Rosa. And through 5, he's got a 2-0 lead.
Of Continental and General brand tires, visit one of the 22 locally owned Arizona Tire Pros locations. And by Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz.
And welcome back to Marlins Park. Ichiro still going strong at 41 for the Marlins. And one man has been by his side the entire time, Japanese reporter Nobuyuki Kobayashi. And, you know, he said the question that I get every day as he was watching his every move, by the way, guys, during batting practice is, you know, does it get boring following one man since 2001 in Seattle? He said, no, every day is different. He said Ichiro has a great sense of humor. His thoughts are very deep when he explains everything going on the field. The hardest thing for him since Ichiro has left Seattle and been in New York and here in Miami is that he is away from his family. He does go home once a month for about 3 or 4 days. He has children at home in Seattle and a wife. And he said, look, he's making history, and I'm a part of it. And he said it's his dream job to be a reporter, and he still cherishes that every single day. He told me today 2 more hits to get to Babe Ruth as far as hits go, and so he's at that point. He'll need another to pass him. He said, look, I can't imagine him retiring, you know, because he's 41 right now. He can still hit, he can still run, turns 42 in October, so he has absolutely no plans, guys, anytime soon to stop covering Ichiro.
Well, he might have a gig here for a few more years yet, Jody, the way Ichiro is going. Goldie up there now, looks at strike 1 after A.J. Pollock flies out. Any list for me, greatest players in the game, pick your cutoff. Last 20 years, 30 years, 50 even. It would be really hard to leave this guy off the list. He's that good. And he began his professional career when he was 18 years old with the Orange Blue Wave for the Pacific League. That was 1992. No one player in the major leagues today was even an active major league player then. A few, like Bryce Harper, hadn't even been born yet. In fact, when Ichiro showed up this spring at Marlins spring training, he was the only player on Miami's entire 40-man roster who was born in the 1970s. That's in the seats and out of play.
Well, the accolades go on and on for Ichiro. I think back to that 2004 season as a member of the Seattle Mariners. In 161 games, he had 262 hits. Hit over 370 that year. I mean, just incredible.
No one in big league history ever had more hits in a season than Ichiro in that 04 season. And Terry Collins, they played the Mets not too long ago, and Terry Collins, the Mets skipper, said, Look, this guy's one of the best players ever. He's been an AL MVP, Rookie of the Year. He's won 2 batting titles, 3 Silver Sluggers, 10 Gold Gloves. He's made 10 All-Star teams and been an MVP in the All-Star game. Goldie hits one deep to left field. Yelich and Ichiro roaming way over there. How about that? Ichiro comes well over into left field to field that one off the bat of Goldschmidt for the second out. The one thing Ichiro has never done, play in a World Series.
And that's probably what drives him to stay in such great shape and come back year after year. I mean, I'm sure financially he is set for life. And you mentioned he's a rock star in his home country. He could go back home right now and sign autographs and never want for anything the rest of his life. He wants a World Series title.
As Manny Tomas, who's 2 for 2, including the 2-run double in the 4th that made it 2-0 Diamondbacks. Ichiro has a very unique offseason program. He says for him, spring training is to practice team things, get reacclimated to real game situations. But in the offseason, it's all about himself. And he has a very meticulous workout program to keep himself in such great shape. Bottom 6 coming up. D-backs are leading the Marlins 2-zip. Closely now with Marlins third base coach Brett Butler on becoming a better all-around player.
Cutting down on his strikeouts, putting the ball in play, but working on his bunting and realizing that if he lays down a bunt and he gets thrown out, you can't have the mindset that, oh, if I would have swung, maybe I would have gotten a hit. You've got to think about it as, oh, I struck out, I popped up, I grounded out, and you have to incorporate that in your game. He's done that, which consequently then has brought the third baseman in, and he's had more hits to left field through that 6 hole, and like I said, the sky's the limit.
He's got the third baseman and the first baseman in on the grass. Gordon so far 0 for 2, leads off the 6th against Ruby De La Rosa, who so far has given up just 3 hits. He's got 5 strikeouts. Gordon said last year in LA, one thing started to click, and it kind of goes with what Brett Butler was just saying there. Something he now thinks is, you know, he thinks about it even more, that he's 170 pounds. He's not going to hit it over these fences, although he tries to here. A little fly ball to left center field. A.J. Pollock's there. He said it would be really dumb for him to hit the ball in the air all the time, and he's worked with that with Brett Butler. And his approach has really changed. This year his fly ball rate is down to a career low, and Gordon's hitting more line drives, keeping the ball, despite of what just happened there, on the ground. One out for Martin Prado. Prado 0 for 2. Slaps it the other way. Over the head of goalie and into right, a base hit. the 4th hit for the Marlins. And here comes Giancarlo. Stanton so far has struck out and popped up 0 for 2.
Well, you won't see any of the infielders playing in right now.
I think you'd have to tie him to a post to get him to play in against this guy. 4 homers in his last 5 games. There's a strike. Good start for Ruby at 95, 0-1. Yeah, he can hit him far a lot. Since 2014, more than some teams. A lot more. 460 plus. Another fastball. That one misses, 1-1. Mentioned that Andre Dawson was talking about Stanton earlier, saying, look, it's not just about the brute strength. This guy, his swing is so short, it's not like he's over swinging, trying to muscle the ball out. He makes contact at the precise point that he should. And Dawson says because of his brute strength, you're seeing the ball travel as far as it is. But for Dawson, it's more about the technique and the timing in Stanton's swing. That's what really impresses him. Hard to third. Tomas, can they turn the double play here? You betcha. A double play behind Ruby De La Rosa erases the 1-out single and sends us to the 7th inning. The Diamondbacks lead in Miami 2-0. Log on to foxsportsarizona.com/beattheheat and enter the word perfect for your chance to win a trip to San Diego for the July 4th weekend. Throughout May, we will give you a word of the day every game. And once you see it, go to foxsportsarizona.com/beattheheat and enter that word. The more times you enter, the better your chances to win. For more information, visit foxsportsarizona.com. As Mark Trumbo leads off the 7th. The password is perfect. Trumbo 0 for 2 so far. Dan Herron has not exactly been terrible here tonight. 2 runs on 5 hits. He's got 4 strikeouts, has not walked a batter. He's only walked 8 all year. And he's getting it done at 88 miles an hour or so. It's Trumbo to chase one. But, you know, that's kind of what Dan Herron does, Bob, as you mentioned earlier. It's, he's below 90 now at this point in his career.
We talked about it a little bit with Josh Coleminter. As the velocity on the fastball goes down, you have to take a little more off of your off-speed pitches so they are equally effective, even though they're not nearly as fast as they used to be. The ideal split is about 8 to 10 miles per hour between your fastest fastball and your best off-speed pitch.
2-2 to Trumbo. Well, it fits that he throws, about 88 miles an hour, because that's his Twitter handle. I throw 88. There he is. It works. He's a good follow on Twitter. He's a funny guy. And he was traded by the Dodgers last December, Dan Herron, along with D. Gordon. Dodgers, as part of the deal, are paying all of Herron's $10 million salary this year. By the way, they're also picking up the $2.5 million tab on D. Gordon. Another 2-2 to Trumbo. Drives it to Stanton, just in front of the warning track in right field, and that's the first out. Herron exercised his option for this year in his Dodgers contract last year before he was traded. Now, he's a California guy, pitched at Pepperdine. He's 34. He wanted to finish his career out there. Didn't want to move his family here to Miami. And when the trade was announced, he said, I'm not going. I might retire. He also just had surgery on his left shoulder. That's his non-pitching shoulder. Cleaned out some bursitis, but finally did show up, and he's been a nice acquisition for the Marlins. His 13th big league season. They were busy, Bob, this winter.
Yeah, they need name tags in spring training. D. Gordon and Dan Herron from the Dodgers, Michael Morse from the Giants, Prado and Ichiro from the Yankees, Matt Latos from the Reds, and Jared Cosart from the Astros.
Aaron Hill drives it deep to left field. Yelich is backing up just in front of the Clevelander out there, and he's got it on the warning track. Seven straight now set down by Dan Herron. There's Jeffrey Lurie, the principal owner here. His GM is now the manager.
That's
Dan
an
Jennings.
Interesting dimension as well. I remember when I was managing the D-backs, Joe Garagiola Jr. used to come down to my office every day pre-game just to see if there were any issues to deal with. Same thing after the game. I guess Dan Jennings just talks to himself.
Well, Chris Owings pops that one up, and Herron has now set down 8 straight, but the Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead as we stretch at Marlins Park. Miami Field to our Cox Gig Life high-speed highlights. Boy, new manager Dan Jennings just looking for some runs. He's only got 4 hits. He trails it 2-0. The Marlins have now gone 16 straight innings without scoring a run. And Justin Bour leads off the 7th against Ruby De La Rosa, who has been sensational here tonight. Bour 0 for 2. He struck out his last time up. Marlins got 1 run in the 9th inning in their game against the Braves on Saturday. They were 0 for 9, 0 runs, pardon me, in 9 innings yesterday. They were almost no hit. In fact, Bour broke up the Shelby Miller no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th. Now they have scored no runs in 7 innings tonight, so 1 run in their last 22 innings for the Marlins. And Ruby has been pretty stingy. This was Bour against Miller to break up the no-no here yesterday. 2 outs, 9th inning, base hit. Ruby is throwing some gas here tonight. 2-2.
Yeah, Justin Bour might be the happiest dude in the ballpark tonight. This is a guy that was log jammed behind Anthony Rizzo with the Chicago Cubs, put up good offensive numbers every year in the minor leagues, and was probably going to continue to put up good numbers in the minor leagues for the Cubs. But the Marlins took him in the Rule 5 draft, giving him an opportunity to play, and he's provided some left-handed thump in the middle of this lineup.
Just got a piece of that 97-mile-an-hour fastball from De La Rosa. Another 2-2 on the way. Drops it into center field. A base hit for Bour. Now, he was a 25th round pick by the Cubs out of George Mason. Played baseball and football in high school. I believe it. Look at the size of him. He was a defensive tackle. He's 6'4", 250 right now. Diamondback Live post-game show follows our ball game here on Fox Sports Arizona. Reaction from the clubhouse. That's just the 5th hit for Miami. 4 singles, Bour aboard, and here's Real Muto. He's 0 for 2, grounded out and flat out. Way out in front of that one, 0-1. That was filthy. Tailing away from the right-hander. That little baby slider he's got.
Yeah, it almost looked like a slider. Didn't have the same kind of bite as the slider he normally throws. Might have just taken a little bit off it, and then comes right back with a tailing fastball at 94.
Good luck.
Boy, the one pitch makes the other one look even faster. And if you throw that fastball inside and come back with the slider away, it makes it look even slower and breaking more. Just the optical illusion of one pitch to the next.
Fly ball left field. Inciarte will watch it go. JT Realmuto, a homer, and we're all tied. Into the Diamondback bullpen, and it's a 2-2 ball game.
Right in the middle of the plate that time to Realmuto, and he did not miss it. A little bit off speed, got his bat head out in front of home plate, pulled it down that left field line for a 2-run homer.
Well, 16 innings without a run. And Realmuto, their rookie catcher, puts up a 2 spot with his first of the year. Christian Yelich doubled in the 2nd. All right, it's tied. Now what do I do? Gonna get the bullpen busy. The left-hander. Dunn is up. Roll to shortstop. Owings. Nice play to get Yelich, who runs well. That's the first out of the 7th. Some COD at shortstop. Well, the action started off kind of slow, and then it picked up a bit. Danny Echeverria. He's 0 for 2. There's a strike. Echeverria, guy that used to be all glove, no hit, 308 for the year. Oliver Perez, the left-hander, started throwing in the Diamondback bullpen. De La Rosa approaching 80 pitches in the ball game. He had been nearly flawless until the Real Muto 2-run homer. Second base, right to Aaron Hill. 2 down.
You know, it's not always pitch selection that causes you problems. Sometimes it's pitch location. This was the sequence. That's the first slider that was out away from Real Muto. It swung right through it. Tries to go back to the same pitch again. This time it just hangs up on the inside part of the plate and gets hammered out of the ballpark.
We have seen that many times this year from Ruby so far. He will pitch a tremendous ball game and make that 1 or 2 just mistake pitches, hangers like that, and they get hit.
And what really makes it frustrating is that slider is his 3rd best pitch. There's no question about it. It goes fastball, changeup, and then slider, only because of the inconsistency with the slider. We saw him throw a real good one early in the count, then we saw him throw a real bad one that cost him 2 runs.
Ichiro 2 for 2 with a pair of singles. Owings at shortstop. Gotta hurry. And they got him. So 3 straight ground ball outs for Ruby De La Rosa following the 2-run homer by Real Muto. Jennings is out there thinking about a challenge. Let's have a look. Maybe a question of, did Goldie keep his foot on the bag rather than did the throw beat him? There will be no challenge. We'll go to the 8th inning in what is now a 2-2 ball game. And plumbing, choose Jazz. Marlins Park in Miami. Now look at our Gila River game summary. Ruby De La Rosa made 1 bad pitch. JT Real Muto knocked it out of here to tie the game 2-2 in the 7th. That's after Yasmani Tomas gave the D-backs a 2-0 lead back in the 4th with a 2-run double. Other than that, De La Rosa has been tremendous. He's scheduled to hit 2nd in this inning. Tuffy Gozowish will lead it off. De La Rosa is out there in the on-deck circle. He's been very efficient in this ball game, so he's got another inning or two left if they want to go that way. There he is. Tuffy doubled his last time up, 1 for 2. And Dan Herron has retired 8 straight as we lead off the 8th. There's a strike, 2-1. Tuffy last 10 games hitting .355 with 8 RBIs. And that double that he hit back in the 5th inning was smoked in the deepest part of the ballpark, way out there in center.
Unquestionably the hardest hit ball off the bat of Tuffy Gozowish this year. He's gotten his share of hits, soft line drives into the outfield, ground balls that sneak through the infield, but he squared that one up to straightaway center.
Roll to shortstop. A backhander by Adeiny Echeverria throws him out. 9 straight retired by Herron. Hey fans, enter now for a chance to win a trip to the MLB All-Star Game on Fox at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. You and 3 of your friends can go. Just upload 2 photos of you at foxsports.com/fantasticallstar now through June the 3rd. De La Rosa will hit in the 8th. First pitch swinging, drives it to right center field. It backs up Ichiro and he runs it down. Boy, he can cover an enormous amount of ground out there. Still at the age of 41.
He still has great speed, but the key for Ichiro has always been the way he reads the ball off the bat and goes right to the spot where he thinks it's going to come down, and 99.9% of the time he's right where he needs to be.
Well, the Diamondbacks have had 1 hit since Tomas's 2-run double in the 4th. It was the Gozowish double with 1 out in the 5th. Herron has retired 10 in a row. And with 2 outs, here's the leadoff man, Ender Inciarte. And he looks at ball 1. Ender singled and scored in the 4th, 1 for 3. A.J. Pollock would be next. 2-5-0 for the D-backs, 2-6-0 for the Marlins. There's a strike, 1-2. Moving some outfielders around with a 1-2 count. Boy, Ender continues to be just an ideal leadoff hitter in so many ways. Yeah, the on-base percentage over .330. You'd love to see it get up to .350-ish. But this year, hitting just as well against left-hand pitching as he is against righties. Home road splits almost identical. Very consistent, but he looks at strike 3. 5 strikeouts for Herron, who has now set down 11 straight Diamondbacks. 2-2 ball game in Miami. Bottom 8 coming up. action, plus highlights of tonight's Major League games. You can see Fox Sports Live tonight, 10 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. Or see it simulcast right here on Fox Sports Arizona at 10 o'clock. Pitcher spot leads off the 8th, and Dan Herron's night will end here. Donovan Solano off the bench to hit for the pitcher. And Solano just 4 for 22 at the plate this year. Herron had a little trouble in that 4th, otherwise pitched very well. 5 strikeouts, retired the last 11 he faced. And he's given up just 1 hit since the 4th inning. But it's a bullpen game now on the Miami side. 2 runs, 5 hits, and 8. No walks, 5 strikeouts. 1-1 on Solano. Out to Trumbo and right. Brings up D. Gordon. Ruby at 85 pitches right now. Just made that one mistake against Real Muto, the hanging nothing ball that he belted into the Diamondback bullpen. Other than that, he has just pitched a gem of a ball game here. Gordon 0 for 3. That's been a big reason why. 4-12 leads the major leagues. Corners are in. There's strike 1.
Yeah, this defensive alignment by the Diamondbacks on D. Gordon, a little reminiscent of the defense you see against Billy Hamilton of the Cincinnati Reds, a guy that'll hit a routine ground ball to short and leg it out at first base. So everybody has to come in a few steps. The corners come way in.
You don't want him getting on the bases. Matt Williams, of course, plays in this division as the manager of the Nationals. And, you know, they played Miami a couple of times, and he saw what a game changer D. Gordon is. You can't let him get on. Bounce to shortstop. Owings has it. 2 down. I mean, Matty said, look, if he gets on first base, it becomes a triple. Because when he is on first, the game stops, and the pitcher holds the ball longer, throws over, steps off. All kinds of funky patterns. And before you know it, he's standing at third. But he is 0 for 4 tonight. 2 down now for Prado. Single his last time up, 1 for 3. Oliver Perez had been throwing in the Diamondback bullpen. He is sitting down now, and big Enrique Burgos is up. Stanton on deck with 2 outs. A bouncer to second, Aaron Hill. And Ruby De La Rosa's retired 6 in a row. That's his 4th 1-2-3 inning of the ball game. But we go to the 9th. It's a 2-2 game. Here's what's next, brought to you by CenturyLink. Pollock, Goldie, and then Tomas, who's got a 2-run double for both D-back runs. D-backs and Marlins are tied up 2-2. Hey fans, school is out. It's time to celebrate. Students get a ticket to this Friday's college night game for only $5. D-backs and the Cubs, a 6:40 start at Chase Field. Plus a post-game fireworks show courtesy of Gila River Casinos. Get your $5 college night ticket right now. dbacks.com/college. New pitcher for the Marlins. And Jennings has made his first managerial pitching change, his managerial debut here, named the skipper this morning. And for the 19th time, look at this ERA, .95. A.J. Ramos, 7 straight scoreless outings. In fact, 16 of his 18 outings this year have been scoreless.
24 strikeouts against only 6 base on balls in 19 innings of work.
Well, he's facing the heart of the order here for the Diamondbacks. Pollock, Goldie, Tomas, 2, 3, and 4 in the Arizona ninth. A.J. so far 0 for 3. Alfonso Marquez. A little discussion with A.J. now, who's down no balls and 2 strikes. Three-pitch strikeout. Ramos isn't messing around here. 1 down.
Ramos with a couple of different fastballs. Good slider right here, leading A.J. right out of the strike zone. Also throws a straight changeup. Good weapons.
Well, here's Goldie. Singled and scored in the 4th. 1 for 3. Came in on the Tomas 2-run double. Goldie has not seen much of this ballpark in his career. Only 5 games here at Marlins Park, but he does have 2 home runs here. So far, Ramos, 5 pitches, 5 strikes. It's 0-2. Goldie at Marlins Park. Bounce to shortstop. Echeverria throws it out, 2 down. Here's Tomas. Yasmani Tomas singled in the 2nd. Dropped it into right field in front of Giancarlo Stanton. A 2-run double in the gap to left center field in the 4th. For the only 2 Arizona runs, he's 2 for 3. Was Yasmani Tomas, made it 2-0 D-backs in the 4th off Dan Herron.
Got on a hanging breaking ball, pulled it to the gap in left center field. The 3rd 2-hit game in a row for Yasmani Tomas.
Following singles by Inciarte and Goldschmidt. Leads off that one. It's 1-1. Right by him, 1-2.
Four-seamer inside part of the plate. Blew it right by Yasmani that time.
Here's a scary thought. Bottom 9. Marlins will have Stanton leading off. He blows away Tomas at 96. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Ramos, and we go to the bottom of the 9th. 2-2 ball game. Giancarlo Stanton leads it off for the Marlins. Plays of the game. At the hot corner, a couple of nice plays down there. Starts the 5-4-3. Yasmani Tomas. A big night offensively and defensively. Those are our Chaz Roberts air conditioning. Cool plays of the game, and now try to keep cool here as Stanton leads off the 9th in a 2-2 game. Diamondback bullpen just a moment ago got busy out there. Ruby De La Rosa back out there for the 9th inning. He is right at 90 pitches, 63 for strikes. He has retired the last 6 he's faced. Stanton, Bohr, Real Muto, 3, 4, and 5 in the Miami 9th. Perez, the left-hander, Ziegler, the righty. Stanton 0 for 3 so far. He has struck out, popped up, and hit into a double play. Drives it out to Inciarte, and Ender runs it down. Well, they've kept Gordon hitless, and they've kept Stanton hitless. Hey fans, MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 13 years. You can watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. You'll get real-time highlights, live look-ins, the pitch tracking widget, and a whole lot more. Blackout rules do apply, so check MLB.TV for details. Justin Bohr singled and scored a run his last time up. First pitch swinging. Owings behind the bag at second, quickly 2 down.
Sixth time in this ball game that Ruby De La Rosa has gotten an out on 1 pitch.
Well, he's made only 1 bad pitch, really. 1 mistake pitch, if you want to use that word. It was to this guy, JT Real Muto, their rookie catcher, his last time up in the 7th, and Real Muto smashed it into the Diamondback bullpen for a 2-run homer that tied it his first of the year. First pitch swinging again. Goldie takes it himself. And De La Rosa has gone the distance. But we are going to extra innings. A 4-pitch 9th for Ruby. 2-2, 10th on the way. Jack Lynch beef jerky. Feed your wild side. Feed it. 10th inning. There we are down there. Marlins Park. 2-2 ball game. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly, and Jody Jackson. Just about 9:15 here in Florida, right after 6 back home in the great state of Arizona. And we are playing extras. Third pitcher on for the Marlins tonight. And it's the right-hander, Sam Dyson. This guy's another one who's been really good back in that bullpen for Miami. 16 appearances this year, Bob. 13 of them scoreless.
And he throws fastball about 80% of the time so far this season. It's a good one. Averages 95 miles per hour. Also mixes in an occasional changeup, an occasional slider. But you're going to see a lot of heaters from Sam Dyson.
And he loves to pitch in this park. 23 career appearances at Marlins Park, a 3-0 record, and a 1.98 ERA. Mark Trumbo leads off the D-backs 10th. Trumbo, Hill, Owings 5, 6, and 7. Diamondbacks this year 2-2 so far in extra inning games. First pitch is upstairs for a ball. Mark had that great start to his season, hit nearly .320 in April. He's at .275 right now. Does have 4 homers here in May, but he's hitting about .220 this month. 2 balls and no strikes. Ruby De La Rosa, how about that? He's now retired the last 9 he's faced. 9 innings of work tonight for Ruby. 2 runs on 6 hits. Did not walk a batter, struck out 5.
Boy, and you said it. 1 pitch. That second slider that he threw to Real Muto, just tried to throw a better one than the one before and left it over the inside part of the plate hanging there.
Otherwise, we'd be talking about a slam dunk shutout for Ruby tonight. He was tremendous. Trumbo ahead 3-0. There's a strike. 96 from Dyson.
I'm always amazed these guys, and Ruby's included in this, the guys that throw in the mid to upper 90s but yet have tremendous movement on that fastball. That last one looked like a very hittable pitch from Mark Trumbo at the last minute. Had some bottoming action. He hit the top half of the baseball and harmlessly fouled it away.
In the hole and into right, a base hit, leadoff man aboard. Mark Trumbo gets it started here in the 10th.
Think about a pinch runner here in extra innings with the leadoff man getting on, and indeed Nick Ahmed just jumps up out of that first base dugout. He'll take over for Mark.
Brings up Aaron Hill. Aaron 0 for 3. He has grounded into a double play, struck out and flied out. Toronto coming in on the grass at third. Hill swings away and fouls it right by Andy Green.
Now on the surface, it appears that the easy move would be to run David Peralta for Mark Trumbo, since he's probably going to come into the game defensively anyway, but you'd rather save David's bat for a possible pinch hit opportunity against this Marlins bullpen. Nick Ahmed runs very well. Use him as the pinch runner in this situation.
Bohr will hold Ahmed at first. The 0-1 to Hill. Misses away, 1-1. Toronto backs off now, even with a back in third. There goes Ahmed. Aaron Hill took a big cut and fouled it off. Nick Ahmed running on the pitch.
Decent jump over there by Nick. He's trying to get that runner into scoring position. Chip doesn't want to give up an out to move the runner to second base. He'd rather have Nick try to steal that bag and then Aaron Hill possibly drive him in.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Bounced it, and it gets behind Real Muto. Bounces all the way back to the mound, and Ahmed gets that bag after all. A free base there for the Diamondbacks, and with no outs in a 2-2 game in the 10th, that's a big one.
Every 90 feet is big in extra innings. Changeup that bounces way over in front of that left-handed batter's box, and something to take note of if you're Tuffy Gosowicz. Watch this ball hit the backstop and ricochet all the way back out into the infield.
Yeah, that's kind of cushioned back there. So Ahmed at second. 2-2 count on Hill. In there, called strike 3 at 96.
I just caught looking for something else in a 2-strike count. 96-mile-an-hour fastball down and in, a very hittable pitch for Aaron Hill, but just couldn't pull the trigger.
Chris Owings 0 for 3. Gosowicz behind him. Ruby De La Rosa, his longest outing ever. Prior to tonight, he had gone 7 innings in a start, 10 times. He went 9 tonight. Retired the last 9 he faced. Diamondbacks trying to get him a run here.
4 of the innings for De La Rosa tonight. He threw 10 pitches or less. Check that. 5 of the innings he threw 10 pitches or less.
The 1-0 to Owings. In there for a strike. Chris Owings has hit safely in 6 straight games, 9 of his last 10. Trying to extend that streak right here. He's 0 for 3. Gordon sneaking in behind Ahmed at second base. Now he'll back off. Big cut there by CO. It's 1-2. Brad Ziegler still warming in the Diamondback bullpen. He gets to warm up right next to the Clevelander. You can kind of see through the window out there. Ruby had been at the top step of the dugout, but that looks like it's going to be it. No, he's going to the bat rack. All right. He's ready to go. Lays off that one close at 95, and it's even 2 balls and 2 strikes. Yeah, Ruby's got the helmet on. He's thrown 94 pitches in a ball game, 66 strikes. And the way he's been going, retired the last 9 he faced, thinking why not, right? Two. Got it. 96 from Dyson. 2 down.
And this could be a pump fake on the part of Chip Hale as you get a look at strike 3 to Chris Owings. Fastball down with some sinking action. If the Marlins choose to walk Tuffy Gosowicz right here, I'm sure we would see a pinch hitter for De La Rosa, but just to show Dan Jennings that the pitcher is on deck, I don't think it's going to change anything he does.
Tuffy Gosowicz doubled in the 5th, 1 for 3. There's the strike. Wouldn't you be better walking Tuffy here and forcing Chip Hale to make some kind of a decision?
I would think so. I mean, if I'm the Marlins right now, I want to get Ruby De La Rosa out of this game however I can. He is dealing tonight.
And if nothing else, you'd force Chip to burn one of his bench players by using a pinch hitter. And Jennings, his managerial debut. He has never managed at any level professionally anywhere ever. The Marlins GM named this morning their new manager. Oh, this guy's tough. Ramos and Dyson have both looked really good. You're right, Bob. That fastball, it's got some jump to it. Duffy last 10 games hitting .355, looking for a big 2-out hit here in the 10th. Well, Dyson gives up the leadoff single and then gets 3 straight strikeouts. He punches out Hill, Owings, and Gozawish, and they strand the go-ahead runner at second base. Bottom 10 coming up. That he went the distance tonight, and he was extremely efficient. An 8-pitch 8th, a 4-pitch 9th, 94 pitches. And his night will end here in a 2-2 ball game in the 10th inning. Bob, he was just outstanding tonight.
He really was. And, you know, the Marlins were very aggressive against him, swinging at a lot of first and second pitches, but that's because he was right around the plate all night long. Had the good fastball going, the tremendous straight changeup, got a lot of swings and misses on that pitch. Just comes back to that one hanging slider that I'm sure he would like to have back.
So Brad Ziegler is out of the Diamondback bullpen, 17th time this year. He'll pitch the 10th. No record, a 1.17 ERA. Some defensive changes behind it. David Peralta checks into the game. He will take over in left field. Ender Inciarte replaces Mark Trumbo in right. So Peralta will hit 9th, pitcher spot now 5th in the Diamondback order. Christian Yelich, who doubled in the 2nd, leads off the Miami 10th. Ender in right field, replacing Mark Trumbo. Two and one. Steve Cishek. Cishek has some blown saves this year. He's actually failed to convert 4 save opportunities this season after blowing just 4 of 43 chances last year. So he's up in the Miami bullpen as Ziegler strikes out Yelich to open up the bottom of the 10th.
Big out, always big to get that leadoff man. Really limits what the opposition can do as far as advancing runners, stealing bases, bunting, hitting and running. One quick out in the inning. Marlins just up there swinging away now the rest of the inning.
Danny Echeverria, the shortstop, 0 for 3. 306 on the year. guy's had a nice season offensively. The glove has always been terrific. The bat is getting there, closer than ever now. In fact, Marcus Semien in Oakland is the only shortstop in the major leagues with more hits than Adeiny Echeverria. The 0-1. Little roller. Tomas, who's had a good night down there at third, picks it up and throws him out. 2 down. Yasmani Tomas.
Well, he's looked very comfortable down there at third base tonight. I think he's finally gotten to the point where he isn't thinking about every play. Just react to what you see. He has good instincts. Makes a nice scoop and throw all in one motion there for the easy out at first.
Ichiro Suzuki, 2 for 3, a pair of singles. That's a foul ball. Check out Ichiro's bat. He has always used black bats, but now he's gone to a light colored wood, the same one he used when he played in Japan. And he was a 3-time MVP there. If you go into his locker, you'll find a big trunk on top of the locker. Inside the trunk is a dehumidifier that he had custom made just to suck all the unwanted moisture out of the wood in his bats. Used to leave the bats out in the sun to dry out, but then he said, well, I'll just have somebody make this dehumidifier. And now he gives them out to his teammates as gifts. Rolls that one to second base. We'll keep going. 11th inning coming up from Miami. D-backs and Marlins tied at 2. Season long. Jack Link's beef jerky. Feed your wild side. Feed it. South Beach. Some extra baseball here. First of a 4-game series. The Marlins and the Diamondbacks from Marlins Park here in Miami. Steve Berthune, Bob Brentley, Jody Jackson with you. Sam Dyson back out there for his second inning of work, and this is the inning in which the Diamondbacks will send their big bats up there. Peralta will lead it off, batting 9th. So Peralta, Inciarte, Pollock here in the Arizona 11th. Dyson in the 10th gave up a single to Trumbo and then struck out Hill, Owings, and Gozowich. All in a row. 267 and 4 homers for David. Oh-2. Peralta 1 for 9 in the series at Philadelphia. He doubled in Friday night's ball game. Bounces another one up there, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Announced crowd here tonight, 17,526. And with the roof closed, you can hear some echoes among the blue seats. 2-2. Another one right behind Dave McKay at first. Don't push anyone out of the way for a souvenir or we'll nail you.
Do we have any T-shirts left? I think we gave them all away at Philadelphia. One of them.
We turned that guy into the Bartman of Philadelphia. 2-2. Another one in the dirt that's full. Here's our friend Joyce in Philadelphia. Maikel Franco's first major league homer, about to get the souvenir. She had it in her hand, she said. And our unnamed staff member went out there and, as a consolation prize, presented her with our Diamondback superhero T-shirt. And that's before it's been released to the public. That's a hot item right now. Peralta strikes out. Don't forget to get those Superhero Night T-shirts coming up on the 22nd. Let's go downstairs to Jody.
Guys, David Peralta there with the bat. He and Ender Inciarte, as soon as they got to the hotel, had a plan to go out and get some good Latin food. As you know, the food is very good here. Venezuelan arepas, that's where they went. I said, did you go across the street? Ender said, no, we went across the world. Apparently it was about a 30-minute drive, but they said it was well worth it.
Everything in Miami is a 30-minute drive, I have found.
Everything.
Ender singled and scored in the 4th. He's 1 for 4. Dyson has now struck out the last 4 batters he's faced. And he misses there with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. It's 1-0. Don't forget, fans, you can get that Superhero Night T-shirt only by buying the special ticket package. That's coming up Friday night against the Cubs at Chase. Right back to the mound. Joyce has already got hers.
She might come for the fireworks after the game Friday night. Don't want to miss that either.
And we should, Bob, applaud. I know this has happened nationally on every talk show on the circuit today because this thing blew up the internet. It was all over the TV, but we should thank and congratulate our unnamed staff member who hustled out there and talked to Joyce and got her the T-shirt. He turned down a lot of requests. The talk shows were calling. I'm not even kidding. They actually were. Yeah. They wanted to talk to him, but he's kind of a guy behind a guy kind of guy.
Yeah.
A.J. Pollock.
I think he had ulterior motives for going out there to Joyce's seat because, you know, it was right in front of Tony Luke's, and it was late in the ball game, and he was starting to get a little hungry.
A.J. 0 for 4, struck out his last time up, and he's down 0-2. Boy, Sam Dyson has worked 1 2/3 innings. He's a strike away from his 5th strikeout. And he gets it. Dyson works 2 innings, strikes out 5, and sends us to the bottom of the 11th in Miami. The D-backs and Marlins still tied at 2. there, 16 homers, a big pinch hit home run in the 8th inning of Game 5 of the NLCS. He's now a Marlin, and he leads off the 11th against Brad Ziegler. Ball 1. Slow start for Morse. Playing time lately has not been as consistent as everyone thought it might be, hitting just .210. Only 5 extra base hits, but 2 home runs. Over the head of Brad, Aaron Hill is there to collect it behind the bag, and they retire Morse. Brad Ziegler talked about the pitchers meeting the Diamondbacks had after the loss yesterday in Philadelphia.
You know, some of the things that were said, we obviously want to keep it internal. The biggest idea is we just have to execute better, and have a better mentality when we're on the mound. You know, I think sometimes we go out on the mound and we're like kind of afraid of bad things happening instead of just attacking and being aggressive and being the one in control out there. And that's what, you know, just try to get that little edge back that you know, we belong out there and we dictate the pace, we dictate the you know, the flow of the game, and not pitch scared, I guess.
Oh, whatever they said certainly worked today. Ruby De La Rosa, 9 innings, was tremendous. And here's Brad, who's retired all 4 he's faced. D. Gordon up with 1 out in the 11th. And the corners are in. Tomas at third and Goldie at first. Gordon has not been on the bases so far tonight. He's 0 for 4. Leading the major leagues in hitting at .409.
Definitely want to make him hit his way on base. He's done it an awful lot in the early going this season, but a base on balls is absolutely the worst thing that can happen here.
2-2. Gordon, a breakthrough season last year in LA, hit .289, stole 64 bases, went to the All-Star game. Marlins got him in December in a deal with the Dodgers. Miami got Gordon, Dan Herron, Miguel Rojas for a package that included pitcher Andrew Heaney. And the Dodgers quickly flipped him to Anaheim. That's how they got Howie Kendrick. New manager Dan Jennings, the general manager, was named the field manager this morning. Rosawish hangs on to the foul tip. Ziegler gets his second strikeout, 2 down. Gordon 0 for 5.
Well, the Diamondbacks have done what they set out to do when this game started. Keep D. Gordon off the bases and keep Giancarlo Stanton in the ballpark.
Martin Prado. Stanton on deck. Prado a single in the 6th. He's 1 for 4. There's a strike, 0-1.
Well, we've seen that particular delivery from Brad Ziegler a few times in this ball game tonight. Not happy with his release point. He's left a few way up and away from lefties. That one he pulled way over in the other batter's box, but he's always able to get right back in the zone.
Drops that one in there. It's 1-2. A.J. Pollock in center field, shaded well over toward the gap in right center. Stanton on deck. They've kept Gordon hitless. Stanton so far hitless tonight. There's A.J. shaded over toward right center. 1-2 to Prado. Just missed there. It's even, 2-2. Alfonso Marquez says no, and it's full. Right on the edge.
Yeah, that's a tough take right there. That ball sweeping across the bottom of the strike zone does end up just off the outside corner.
3-2 to Prado. Bounced foul. There's Brett Butler at third. pitch of the at-bat coming up. Got him. 6 up, 6 down with 3 strikeouts in extra innings for Brad Ziegler. We are 2-2 in Miami, and Goldie will lead off the 12th. By the seashore. He pitched the 12th inning at Marlins Park or something like that. He's in there now. He had been a lockdown closer in his career here, but you can see the ERA near 9. He had failed to convert 4 save opportunities this year after blowing 4 all of last year. And he's out there here to start the 12th inning. And among the National League relief pitchers in terms of ERA, he's the 2nd worst in the league. It's been that kind of year for Steve Cishek.
A little bit like Brad Ziegler with his sidearm delivery, a 2-pitch guy basically, fastball slider, and it's about a 50-50 split between those 2 pitches. He also has a straight changeup, but you rarely see it.
Paul Goldschmidt, who singled and scored in the 4th, will lead off the 12th for the Diamondbacks. 2-2 ball game at Marlins Park. Yasmani Tomas, a 2-run double in the 4th, made it 2-0 D-backs, and then JT Realmuto, a 2-run homer in the 7th, tied it. Addison Reed throwing for the Diamondbacks. Goldie ahead 2-0. Ruby De La Rosa was tremendous tonight. He went 9 innings, retired the last 9 he faced. Struck out 5, did not walk a batter, made 1 real bad pitch for the 2-run homer that tied it. Other than that, we'd have been out of here talking about a tremendous 2-0 shutout win by Ruby. But we're here in the 12th, and it's 2-2 on Goldie. We're still at, considering leading off the 12th inning here, about the 2.5-hour mark of the ball game. Both pitchers, Herron and De La Rosa, were very efficient. Gordon in the outfield grass in right field, picks it up and throws him out. Brings up Yasmani Tomas. Yasmani Tomas 2 for 4, a single to right in the 2nd, and then in the 4th, after Inciarte and Goldie had singled, he drives one at the gap in left center.
Got a hanging breaking ball of his own and did not miss it. We had just talked about how in batting practice today it looked like he was making a concerted effort to pull the ball and ends up hitting a double, driving in 2. There's another one to the left side.
Backhanded by Echeverria, the shortstop. Tomas, the head first slide, and he's in there. Yasmani Tomas. Dan Jennings, the new manager as of this morning, the GM, thinking about a replay review. Let's take a look.
It's so tough to tell because it's something you're not used to looking for. The slide into first base. I think he did beat the throw right there. Always much easier to run straight through that bag unless you're trying to avoid a tag.
Jennings has waved off the challenge, so it's a base hit for Tomas. He's 3 for 5 tonight. And a 1-out base runner for the Diamondbacks. Cliff Pennington now with a pitcher spot up. Pitcher spot now 5th in the Arizona order. Will step into the batter's box. Pennington hitting 158 on the year. 3 for his last 25 at the plate. Tomas bluffs at first. That's in there for a strike. 0-1. Penny. Gordon knocks it down. Echeverria turns the double play. Hard hit ball to the second base bag. D. Gordon is there. Echeverria turns 2, and we stay 2-2. And guess who leads off the Miami 12th? Giancarlo Stanton coming up. Addison Reed coming in. Issues. The Diamondbacks had said earlier in Philadelphia when they announced Reed would no longer be closing games, at least regularly, that they didn't want him working out his issues in the 9th inning, but here he is in the 12th.
It's a couple innings in the Saturday game in Philadelphia. Gave up 1 base hit, struck out a batter, 1 intentional walk, no runs scored. Looked good in that outing. Some minor tweaks to his delivery. Hopefully it will improve his command, especially on that slider.
Well, he's right into the deep end of the pool here. Giancarlo Stanton 0 for 4 so far. Leads off the 12th for the Marlins. He has homered 4 times in his last 5 games. Ball 1. Stanton has struck out, popped up, hit into a double play, and lined out to left field. 243 on the year. And he's ahead, 2 balls and no strikes. Three-0.
You think he has the green light?
He's got the green light when he's in the dugout. 4 on deck. And there for a strike. 3-1. Dan Ken Jennings, the GM, named the manager this morning. And here he is in the 12th in a 2-2 game in his first ever game. Managing as a professional at any level. 3-1 to Stanton. Ball 4, he's walked the leadoff man. First walk of the ball game issued by either side. And we're here in the 12th. It's been that kind of night. Justin Bour, 1 for 4. Singleton scored in the 7th, came in on the Real Muto homer. He's on deck. Stanton at first, he's the winning run. Now Addison Reed so far, 6 pitches, 5 of them balls.
A dangerous pitch upcoming right here. Justin Bour has been extremely aggressive tonight, swinging at the first or second pitch nearly every at bat. If this is close, he's going to take a rip at it.
Jam shot pop up. Sounded like he broke his bat. Chris Owings is under it, and that's the first out. Well, Ruby De La Rosa had pitched a brilliant ball game until that hanging nothing ball to JT Realmuto in the 7th inning after Bour had singled, and we were tied up just like that. Other than that, Ruby pitched a gem tonight.
Tremendous.
So here is Realmuto, 1 for 4 with a homer. This is the catcher, the young guy, just 24 years old, that the Marlins have decided to go with behind the plate. They let Jared Saltalamacchia go at the end of last month, $8 to $14 million on his deal. He's now a Diamondback, catching for Phil Nevin with the Reno Aces in AAA. There's your strike, 1-1. That was not an easy decision for Miami. Saltalamacchia is a local guy from Royal Palm Beach High School. They owed him a lot of money, but they made the decision. They like Realmuto that much. Stanton will run on you from time to time. He's got 3 stolen bases this year. And there he goes. The throw from Tuffy is in time. They got him. Tuffy goes a wish. Throws out Giancarlo Stanton. 2 down in the 12th.
Didn't get a great jump over there. Addison Reed can be really slow to home plate, but Stanton didn't get the kind of jump necessary to steal that bag, and Tuffy puts it right on the money to Aaron Hill. Nicely done.
How about that throw? A 2-1 count on Realmuto. Now base is empty, 2 down. This there, it's 3-1. Second walk of the inning issued by Addison Reed. He has thrown 12 pitches so far, only 3 of them strikes. Christian Yelich. Yelich tonight 1 for 4, a double in the second. He has struck out twice. Tuffy to the mound now.
This has something more to do with the pitch selection that they want to attack Christian Yelich with. I don't think Real Muto's a threat to steal over there at first base. Just make him stop. Don't let him get a walking lead, but really concentrate on the pitches to the guy at the plate.
Yelich just over 180 on the year with 1 homer. Went down with a bad back April 19th, missed 16 games, had a herniated disc. Just came back on May the 8th. Ball 1. This is a guy his first full season in the major leagues last year. Hit 284, 30 doubles, stole 21 bases, won a Gold Glove in the outfield, got a $50 million contract in the offseason. There's a strike, 1-1.
Hey.
1-2.
He's trying to stay outside, away, work that outside corner of the plate or farther off the plate away. They can beat you to the opposite field if he's going to get a base hit.
Real Muto stays put at first. 2-2 now. Three and 2. And Danny Echeverria is on deck. Third 3-ball count in this inning for Addison Reed. 3-2, 2 outs. Real Muto off of the pitch at first. There he goes. Bounce to second. Aaron Hill collects it and throws him out. And Addison Reed, a pair of walks, but he escapes the 12th. We go to the 13th inning, tied at 2.
Pitching coach Mike Harkey. Addison 2 walks in that inning, but came away, of course, with no runs given up. Addison working on new mechanics. Watch the front leg here. He used to lift it quite a bit. Now it's just a little tiny bit of a lift there. And he said that it is like learning an entirely new language. And guys, he just started this on Friday as he searches to get back on track and hopefully regain that closer position at some point. But very tough to totally revamp your mechanics mid-season.
And it was tough for him to throw strikes. Jody clearly struggling to find some command there in that bottom of the 12th. He walked 2, went 3-2 on Yelich before he grounded out to end the inning. And So it's definitely at this point a work in progress for Addison Reed. 13th now. And here's Aaron Hill to lead it off against Steve Cishek. Hill, Owings, and Gozawish 6, 7, and 8 in the Diamondback 13th. And Aaron had that slow April. He went 9 for 50 in April. But the bat has really come around as of late. Last 14 games, hitting nearly 440. And he bounces that to second base, right to Gordon. One away. Well, extra innings, a chance for Chris Owings to extend his hit streak. CO tonight 0 for 4. He's hit safely in 6 straight, 9 of his last 10. Slams it into left, a base hit for Owings. He's now hit in 7 straight games. And the Diamondbacks have a 1-out base runner.
Yeah, sinking fastball. The Cishek got up in the zone a little bit. CO bangs it into left field. One of the Diamondbacks' better base runners, certainly one of their faster base runners on with 1 out in the inning.
Enrique Burgos, who was up earlier in the Diamondback bullpen, has started throwing again. Tuffy Gozawish. There goes the runner. Owings on the run. The throw was offline to the third base side of the bag, and Gordon had to come well off the second base bag just to prevent that throw from getting into center field. So it's CO's 5th stolen base of the year.
Yeah, broken hit and run. Tuffy swung right through that pitch up and away, but fortunately Real Muto threw the ball to the shortstop side of the bag. Boy, on a broken hit and run, that runner's always in dangerous territory because it's not really a straight steal. You're depending on the hitter to protect you, and that time Tuffy swung right through it. CO still steals the bag.
Reaches down and hits a one-hopper right to Gordon. Owings moves into third. And that's the second out. And Peralta coming up. He's hitting in the 9th spot after the double switch.
Boy, had that ground ball to second come one pitch earlier, there would have been some serious action because D. Gordon was the cover guy on that hit and run, and Tuffy hit that ball right where he was standing at second base. If he'd have done that on the pitch before, it'd have been 1st and 3rd with 1 out in the inning. I mean, D. Gordon was covering on the stolen base attempt, but he's retreating back into a normal position, and that's right where Tuffy hits it. That would have been vacated on the pitch before because of the steal attempt.
Peralta down the right field line. That's a fair ball, and the Diamondbacks will take the lead. Peralta, that freight train on the bases, pulls it at the station at second base, and it's 3-2 Diamondbacks. We've seen it all season long. Big 2-out hits by this ball club, and there's another one right there.
We got that flat slider working its way across the strike zone. Peralta tracked it and kept it fair down into that right field corner. Another big 2-out hit.
And here's the leadoff man, Ender Inciarte, with an insurance run out there in scoring position and 2 down. Ender singled and scored in the 4th. 1 for 5. It's been a tough season. We've talked about everything that Addison Reed has gone through for the Diamondbacks. Steve Cishek very much in that same boat, and in his second inning of work here, he's given the Diamondbacks a 3-2 lead. This is there, and it's 3-0. Longest games in Marlins Park history. Time to start at least thinking about that, Jeffrey Loria. have had 2 14-inning games, 1 15-inning game here in this ballpark. That was back in April of 2013, and Ciarte a 2-out walk. The new skipper in his first game ever as a professional at any level managing, Dan Jennings, who is the GM, and this morning was named the manager, replacing Mike Redmond, who was fired yesterday after he got a contract extension at the end of last year.
Extra innings right out of the chute. It'll introduce him to the joys of antacids.
A.J. Pollock said, the voice of experience. A.J. 0 for 5. He has struck out his last 2 times up. Cishek is really losing it right now. National League, 2 outs and runners in scoring position. The Diamondbacks best in the league. There's a strike, 2-1.
Cishek hearing some boos from the hometown fans here. He's going through a lot of the same thing that Addison Reed has been going through. Just hasn't been as effective as they would like. Trying to get his legs back underneath him. This is his second multi-inning effort this year. He had none of those last year.
Bounced up the middle, and Chavarria, they go the short way for the force on Ciarte, and that's the inning. But David Peralta comes up with yet another big 2-out hit for the Diamondbacks. His RBI double has given Arizona a 3-2 lead as we go to the bottom of the 13th in Miami. Diamondback win, bottom 13 in Miami. The numbers on Enrique this year, his 9th appearance, an ERA just over 4.5. He'll work to the lower third of the Miami order. Danny Echeverria hitless tonight. The shortstop leads it off and looks at strike 1. 96 from Burgos. D-backs have lost 4 straight, 7 of their last 9, only 6 road wins all year. This would be a big one to open up this 4-game series and snap the losing skid. Burgos quickly ahead 0-2. He has lots of closing experience, Enrique Burgos, just not in the big leagues. 6 saves and 7 chances with AA Mobile this year before his call up to the big league club. The 0-2 misses. He was closing games for Robbie Hammock at Visalia last year. in A ball, and Burgos led the Cal League with 29 saves. So being a closer is what he's used to. A ball and 2 strikes on a Danny Echeverria. Got him. 1 down.
Burgos may have gotten away with one there. Letter high slider right over the middle of the plate. Echeverria couldn't lay off, couldn't catch up.
Ichiro Suzuki. 2 for 4, a pair of singles. And he looks at strike 197 from Enrique that time. We've seen Burgos this year touch 100 miles an hour and mix in that big hard slider. Pitcher spot due up next, Jeff Baker. One of the Marlins' key reserves. A nice guy to have down there on your bench. He's in the on-deck circle.
Just misses that backdoor slider right there. Late movement, but not quite enough to get it to the corner. But with Ichiro going into the starting lineup tonight in center field, the Marlins have no left-handed bats available off the bench.
Back to the heat at 97. Misses there. He's behind 3-1. You saw that slider. He's been throwing it a lot here tonight so far. It can come in at just about 90 miles an hour, sometimes north of that. A lot like a cutter. Or it can take something off it, and it makes it kind of like another pitch. Sticks with a heat and misses. A 1-out walk to Ichiro. Diamondback bullpen stays busy. Andrew Chafin, who just lost the mustache, is warming up. So here's Jeff Baker now. 1 out, Ichiro, the tying run at first. Baker has only appeared in 16 games this year. 6 for 18 at the plate, including a pair of doubles. He is 2 for 9 as a pinch hitter this year. He's also walked 3 times. There's a strike. Ichiro 3 for 6 in his stolen base attempts this year. Mentioned this earlier, Ichiro only 10 steals away from 500 in his major league career.
I'm not quite sure if he's thinking about running or not. All those little flinches, you know, just turning that right shoulder just a little bit, making Burgos believe that maybe he's taking off for second base. And if there's any doubt in your mind as a pitcher, he did the right thing. Just step off the rubber and start over again.
You heard Brad Ziegler talk about the pitchers meeting that the staff had after the loss yesterday in Philadelphia, and the general theme in that meeting was being the aggressor out there, dictating the tempo, the pace, the rhythm of the ball game, and that certainly speaks to this situation for Burgos. Be the guy out there who's in control. Don't let him control you. There goes Ichiro. The throw from Tuffy is not in time. A stolen base for Suzuki, his 4th of the year. And now the tying run is in scoring position with 1 out.
Well, those flinches weren't decoys after all. Ichiro gets a huge primary lead. Aaron Hill arguing that he got the tag up high on the shoulders of Ichiro before the foot got on the bag. I think he might be out.
Chip Hale will challenge. Diamondbacks are challenging the call at second base.
If nothing else, it looked like after Ichiro touched the bag, his body spun around and he came off.
It's another replay review brought to you by Mix One. Mix One, keeping track of all the challenges and replays in which the Diamondbacks are involved this year. So Bruce Dreckman, the second base umpire, Tom Halley and the crew chief at third base, put on the headsets and talk to New York, and they'll take a look. I think the Diamondbacks have a pretty good case right here. And remember, you need clear and convincing evidence the call on the field was incorrect. Oh yeah, he got him on the shoulder. He got him on the back of the right shoulder. They're showing it here on the big Jumbotron scoreboard out there in center field, and he is out.
Yeah, and Ichiro knew he came off the bag. He tried to reach back with his left hand. He hits the bag with his right foot. It comes off, and he tries to reach around with his left hand to get on the base. But Aaron Hill kept the tag on him the entire time.
Got him on the back of the shoulder. He is out at second. The Diamondbacks win the challenge. The call is overturned, and that's a big win for Chip Hale right there. 2 down, and it erases that base runner.
Another good throw by Tuffy, and a great heads-up play by Aaron Hill to keep the tag on the runner just in case he comes off the bag, and that's exactly what happened.
6th call this year overturned in Diamondbacks games. Another replay review brought to you by Mix One. A 1-1 count on Baker with 2 down. He waves at that one, and now the Diamondbacks are a strike away. Marlins have lost 6 of their last 7, just swept by the Braves here this weekend. Their GM Dan Jennings is now the manager. Jeffrey Loria, the owner here. Bob, a big decision there by the new skipper to run Ichiro. Kind of rolled the dice a bit, came up empty.
Really put that one on the manager. If Ichiro stays on the bag, he's safe.
2-2. Got him, and the Diamondbacks win the ball game in 13 innings. 3-2. They beat the Marlins, who have now lost 7 of their last 8 games. The D-backs snapped that 4-game losing streak, and they win the opener, this 4-game set here at Marlins Park.
Well, a good one to win, I'll tell you. Even though Ruby De La Rosa does not get, he doesn't enter into the decision, he certainly pitched well enough to win a ball game like that tonight. More outings like that, and he's going to be just fine.
Addison Reed, the winner. Steve Cishek, the loser. Burgos gets his first major league save. The Diamondbacks out-hit the Marlins 9-6.